Silver's been bouncing around. Tech stocks, a little choppy lately. And recently I sat down with a couple who told me, Matt, we've saved over $1 million and we're still not sure if it's enough. That conversation, it led us into market swings, taxes, and a blind spot that I see far too often with retirees, one that can cost them tens of thousands of dollars over their lifetime. Stay tuned. Eye on Retirement starts right now.
In today's world of market volatility and uncertainty, your retirement plans need to be front and center. With ever-changing tax laws, healthcare worries, and an unpredictable stock market, don't overlook the vulnerability in your retirement planning. Protecting your family and estate will be difficult with shifting policies in Washington. It's more important than ever to keep an eye on retirement.
Welcome in to Eye on Retirement. I'm Matt Goolsby. And that couple I mentioned before the credits, they found us the same way many of you do, through this show, on YouTube. They came in a little unsettled, and like a lot of people watching the markets lately, they'd seen precious metals, especially silver, take a bumpy ride. Tech stocks, they've been volatile too. And they said something to me I hear all the time. Matt, we're concerned about the swings the market can make during our retirement. That right there is market volatility. And it feels different when you're no longer just saving for retirement, but getting ready to stop working or fully retire. Now, to their credit, they did a lot of things right. Together, they had saved, like they said, over $1 million in their retirement accounts. But the big question wasn't how much they'd saved. It was, will it be enough to last? So we did what we always start with, the basics that I see far too many others skip. We worked through their monthly budget. What does it truly cost to run their household? We looked at their Social Security. We accounted for taxes. And then we identified what we call the income gap. That space between what's actually coming in and what they've actually going to need to spend and run their household on a monthly basis. And that's when a major blind spot showed up. Every dollar they had saved was in pre-tax IRAs. They had no tax-free money, no after-tax flexibility. And that led them to ask an honest and very common question. We're afraid we don't really know what information we're supposed to share between our tax person and our financial advisor. That concern right there, it tells me a lot. Because just like I hope you have asset diversification, meaning you don't want all your eggs in one basket, you want some diversification there, it can be a wise move to also have tax diversification. What I see far too often is a retiree stuck in the middle of 2 or 3 professionals, maybe a financial advisor, a tax person, maybe even an estate planning attorney. And the retiree becomes the messenger. They're told, well, make sure you tell your CPA this, and well, don't forget to ask your advisor about that, without ever knowing if the full picture is actually being shared. And the reality is, no one should have to quarterback their own retirement behind the scenes. That's exactly why we talk about these blind spots. The things that don't jump out on a statement, but can quietly create risk, lost opportunity, or unnecessary taxes over time. So if you're watching this and you're wondering, what blind spots might I have in my retirement? Do I really know how taxes could impact my income along the way? Is my plan built for this volatility, or is it just for accumulation? And we invite you, if you're asking yourself some of these questions, we invite you to start your journey towards retirement clarity. You can schedule step 1 by calling 833-44-CORE4. That's 833-442-6734. That starts step 1, a simple 15-minute introduction just by phone to see if you need to go forward to step 2. And if you do need to go forward, then we move on to that step 2. And that step 2 is a 60-minute virtual or in-person retirement review where we look for blind spots you could have without even knowing that they exist. Or if you prefer, you can book online at retirementhelp.com/report. When we come back, I'll be joined by tax advisor Lauren Dietz, who's going to share some helpful tips as we head into tax season. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Out on the water, there is a moment. Perfect synchronization. The team working together in harmony to reach their goal. Now, imagine finding a team of financial professionals to help run your course down the river of retirement. Market Advisory Group is that team. Financial advisors, tax professionals, estate planning attorneys, and Medicare advisors. All in the same boat. If you don't have a team like this in one place, it can become a hassle to relay information between them. When you come to Market Advisory Group, we bring everyone together for you. To get you answers in real time. To help make sure you don't miss something that puts your unique plan off course. You shouldn't be the one doing all the work to keep your retirement on pace. You should have a team in the boat with you. Your voice telling them where you're at, where you'd like to end up, and how you want to get there. And at that point, everyone falls into sync, all pulling in the same direction, toward the same purpose. Your retirement's financial security. We are Market Advisory Group, proud sponsor of Shocker Rowing.
Well, welcome back into Ion Retirement. Tax season, it can create a lot of anxiety, especially though for retirees who no longer have a paycheck and are trying to understand just how their income is taxed. Joining me now is Lauren Dietz, tax advisor, Market Tax Services. Lauren, great to have you here.
Great to be here, Matt.
So let's talk about what changes at tax time in retirement. You know, Lauren, I see a lot of people assume their taxes get simpler in retirement, but that's not always the case, because what changes once someone stops working tax-wise?
There's a lot of changes. So you may have been doing your taxes for years with just a single W-2 and that's it, or you and your spouse's W-2s. Once you retire, those W-2 wages, they shift into what can be a lot of different sources of income: Social Security, pensions, IRA withdrawals, dividends, and interest. And withholding's not always going to happen automatically. With those IRAs, they're not going to take anything out unless you tell them to.
And you have to tell them how much to take out.
Yeah, they're going to ask you, so what percentage would you like withheld? And a lot of times people are like, I don't know. I've been doing my taxes on a certain tax software on the interwebs, and they just don't know.
RoboTax, something like that.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, we talk about this in our in-person classes a lot, that Social Security gets taxed based on how much other income you have.
Right. Yeah. The provisional income rules mean up to 85% of your Social Security may be taxable, which is really surprising to a lot of retirees. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of confusion around, is Social Security taxable? Is it not taxable? And then when we explain this up to 85%, some people just hear, oh my God, you're taxing my Social Security 85%? No.
That's not how that works. But many people don't realize they choose when and how to take that taxable income. And if you have different pots of money, like I was talking earlier, tax diversification, sometimes there can be a better way to blend those withdrawals. So
yeah, absolutely.
And I come to you all the time to figure that out.
Yeah, a lot of times there are several different sources, and people, they don't know when to turn on their Social Security. They don't know how much they need to take out of their IRA, if they're going to need to take like a big lump sum from it, if they need to take monthly distributions. Sometimes it can be some trial and error, and we help them with all of that.
But most people don't understand that even with less income, taxes can feel less predictable.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a problem.
So let's talk about then common tax filing mistakes that you guys see. So based on what you're seeing this tax season, what are some of the most common mistakes retirees are making?
One of the biggest ones that I've seen year over year is people just simply under withholding from their IRA distributions, because maybe they have been doing their own taxes for years and years, and they don't know what their marginal tax rate is. They don't know what their effective tax rate is. And so they just think, oh, I mean, I think 10% sounds good, but you're actually in a 12 or even a 22% bracket.
Well, and I was talking with a gentleman after a taxes in retirement class that we just taught this last week, and he was right there on that phase out for the one big beautiful bill, that bonus $6,000
Yeah.
deduction. And he thought he was in a 22% tax bracket. Turned out he was in a 35
Oh,
when he took $10,000 out because he just searched the internet for what tax bracket am I in, and that's all he thought he needed to worry about. But it's so much more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Another big thing that we've noticed is people not really planning those required minimum distributions. Once you either turn 73 or 75, depending on the year that you were born, you have to start taking money out of all of those IRA accounts. And people don't realize that can eat into, I mean, that can cause a lot of tax problems for you, especially if those have some pretty big balances on them. We've also noticed that people that maybe have just recently retired and their income has dropped significantly from those high earning wage years, missing those opportunities to do some tax efficient withdrawals across multiple accounts, such as maybe taking some money from a traditional IRA and moving that into a Roth and paying the tax now.
What? That doesn't make any sense. But basically, why a lot of retirees answer with that response that I just gave you there, that doesn't make any sense. It's poor communication between the tax advisor and the financial advisor. And maybe they don't even have a tax advisor.
Right.
Maybe they do their taxes on their own.
They are the tax advisor.
You are your own tax advisor. And I would really caution against that because really about taxes, I've learned it's better to be proactive and not reactive.
Absolutely. Once you've taken that money out, a lot of times there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, unless you turn that around in a very, very short window.
Well, that's where we see people get stuck in the middle, trying to connect the dots themselves. So now let's talk about planning ahead. What should retirees be doing now? So if someone's watching this show, either they're close to retirement or they're already there, what should they be thinking about beyond just filling in this year's tax return?
Right. So this is one of those opportunities. We mentioned Roth conversions a couple of minutes ago, looking beyond just the current year that you're in and thinking multi-year tax planning. That would include sitting there and kind of analyzing, okay, how much money do I have in these pre-tax accounts? Is it wise or does it make sense to maybe move some of that money into these after-tax Roth accounts that are you'll never pay tax on them again?
So you're talking about tax statuses and you're talking about things that are in your lane, but really there's just an overlap between the financial advisor and a tax person, truthfully.
Absolutely. This is where it is crucial to sit down and have the tax advisor, their financial advisor, sometimes even like their Medicare advisor, just have them all in the same room so we can talk through these numbers, make sure that we're not going to be causing any additional tax pain, that we're not going to be causing them to trigger the different levels of IRMA.
Presley called it last week Irma.
Irma, I know.
I've never heard it.
I've heard her say that.
Irma.
And I'm
Irma.
like, oh,
Irma. Okay. I kind of like how she says it better.
I do too.
But it's not just about this tax season. It's about avoiding blind spots in retirement altogether that you might not have tax problems or you might not feel like you have tax problems right now, but down the road, if you have $1 million, $2 million in an IRA, you got tax problems. You're just not feeling it yet.
Yeah. I mean, we've often asked clients when they come in, do you think taxes are going to go up or down in the future?
Very few say down.
Yeah. Very few say down.
Very
I
few.
have little hope that they're going to go down any more than where they're at currently.
Well, Lauren Dietz, tax advisor with us here. Great insights as we head into tax season. And for those of you watching, this is a perfect example of why taxes shouldn't be looked at in isolation. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation on how a team-based approach can help you uncover risks you might not even know are out there with health insurance advisor Trey Basa. Stay tuned.
Retirement is supposed to be exciting, the reward for decades of hard work. But for many, it starts with a flood of questions. When should I take Social Security? How will taxes change when I stop working? What do I need to know about Medicare? And what happens to everything I've built when I'm gone? Retiring isn't just about leaving work. It's about stepping into a whole new season of life and making sure you're ready for it. That's why there's retirementhelp.com, a free online resource built specifically for people just like you. Clear, trustworthy information on the decisions that shape your retirement. RetirementHelp.com is here to empower you with the resources and education you need to retire with ease. What sets RetirementHelp.com apart from other resources is how we view retirement planning. We believe it takes a team because taxes can affect Medicare costs and finances can affect estate planning. We take a holistic approach to retirement so you don't have to bounce around like a pinball to get your questions answered. We have articles designed to answer questions you may have, webinars that dive deeper into topics like Social Security and taxes in retirement, videos, TV shows, and podcasts exploring real-life issues retirees have run into, as well as daily updates addressing changes in the retirement landscape. Don't let doubt keep you up at night wondering if you're ready or not. Visit retirementhelp.com today and start planning the retirement you deserve.
Welcome back into Eye on Retirement. We've been talking about blind spots, those areas retirees don't always see until it's too late. And joining me now is Trey Basa from Market Medical Insurance. You guys changed your name. I got to get used to that new name.
Did.
Trey, it's great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's talk about the healthcare blind spots that no one really expects in retirement. Earlier, I'd shared a story about a couple who'd done a lot financially right, but still had blind spots. And that was when it came time for their healthcare, their Medicare. Where do you see oftentimes people see these surprises show up?
I think a lot of times people overlook timelines. A lot of folks are obsessed with the idea, I'm turning 65, I have to start Medicare, when that's not always the case. People neglect that full retirement age for Social Security. It depends on when you were born. A lot of times it's now 67, and that could be a good time for folks to retire, move on to Medicare, start Social Security.
But if they didn't enroll in Medicare when they're 65, there's penalties, right?
That's not always the case. We have to take into consideration their workplace insurance, their spouse's workplace insurance, and whether or not it meets a level of creditable coverage. Oftentimes it does, and we negate any of those late enrollment penalties.
You know, this isn't what we planned to talk too much about today, but I have a question for you. Do you find a lot of people have, if they come off their work plan and they go get a plan when they turn 65 for Medicare, do you find that plan covers them exactly the same way their work plan did, or is it a little different?
It's going to operate a little differently, especially when we're talking about that transition from workplace to Medicare. It's a whole new world. Medicare is, in my humble opinion, a little bit more comprehensive in coverage, especially when we're talking about things like premiums, deductibles, and co-payments, max out of pockets. It's a completely different realm for folks to start operating.
So even like the couple I was talking about earlier in the beginning of the show, they have $1 million. They're worried had they saved enough, but they had no idea about their healthcare situation. So even with a solid retirement account, healthcare can quietly disrupt someone's retirement plan.
Especially if you're considering family health history, if you're considering factors outside of people's control, things that happen to them, all of a sudden they could be looking to fund themselves in a couple of different areas medical-wise.
So in this couple's case, how did their healthcare decisions tie back to taxes, income, and market volatility?
When we're talking about, say, Medicare premiums, the biggest premium anybody's going to face in retirement is going to be that Part B premium. Everybody has to pay that premium. They can't get away from it. And that premium is actually based off of an individual or a couple's tax return from 2 years prior, how
That's
much
fun.
they filed for and how they filed.
So a poorly structured plan can force retirees to pull more taxable income out, which can raise their Part B and D premiums. And then you have unexpected medical expenses in there as well. That can hit you in at a downtime. Maybe you're down in the market and just adding insult to injury. So let's talk about another example of how one blind spot can trigger several others. Okay. So let's review what retirees should be reviewing right now.
I think one aspect people really should be reviewing is just their income and their taxes from the last couple of years. I find that people are often in their highest earning years when they're approaching retirement, and all of a sudden their first couple of years on Medicare is going to cost them more than their neighbors, than their already retired friends. They have to take a look at how that is going to be just something to review every year, not just when they first retire, but also talking about how that income and how we can use it for things like their co-payments and premiums appropriately, making sure that we're not spending too much on all of those expenditures when we're first starting off retirement.
So, if you work with a team that communicates, you don't have to relay all this information between the different professionals. And when healthcare is coordinated properly, it removes the stress instead of adding to it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, especially when you have those folks around one table just for you, now all of a sudden you know pretty quickly how much you can withdraw, what the tax consequences are going to be, and we have a team watching that threshold, making sure you're not paying too much in Medicare premiums.
Trey Basa from Market Medical Insurance, thank you for walking with us through most of the overlooked areas in planning retirement, that healthcare. When we come back, we'll shift the conversation to long-term care with Kim Sixkiller and talk about how retirees can create dependable income even when the markets are undependable. Stay right with us. We'll be right back with more Eye on Retirement.
Every client we work with deserves a custom-made plan to fit them.
We can take any situation that's thrown in front of us, look at what fears they may be trying to work through, and come up with very creative solutions.
We are unique to people that are seeking to try to have the complex things more simple.
We work together as a team. As an advisor, it'll come up with tax questions. It's great to have a CPA here in the office that can answer those questions and give them accuracy.
Market Advisor Group, proud to be local.
I need a place to go to see about my investments. Ask my friends if they know about holistic retirement. Everything in one place. Estates, taxes, and Medicare. People meeting face to face. Advisors to help me get there.
At Market Advisory Group. Retirement under one roof. At Market Advisory Group. We're invested in you.
Welcome back into Eye on Retirement. We've been talking about retirement blind spots, aka missed opportunities that can quietly cost families over time. Joining me now from Kansas City is Kimberly Sixkiller with a real life story every grandparent needs to hear. Kimberly, what's going on here?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So I recently met with a new grandparent who was excited, but also frustrated. Their first grandchild had been born, and they wanted to give that child a financial head start. So what they didn't realize was that in the year that the child was actually born, they could have used their IRS annual gifting allowance up to $19,000. And no one had explained that to them. And once that year passed, that opportunity was gone.
That's a retirement blind spot. Not getting tax advice out there when you're in retirement. So this probably created some uncertainty, right?
Absolutely. So how were we supposed to know that was kind of their initial response. And that question really led them down a bigger rabbit hole. If no one had explained something that basic, what else wasn't being discussed? And what other planning windows might open and close without families even realizing they exist?
So that's where uncertainty starts to creep into a retirement plan. So that uncertainty, tell us more about that uncertainty.
Yeah, exactly. So they asked, we missed this year. What other years have we missed? What other strategies did we not know about that no one told us about? So unfortunately, when planning for children and grandchildren, missed opportunities can be costly over time.
So I'm sure you have a nugget of wisdom here for us.
Yeah, so I think here's where the key lesson really comes in is good retirement planning should be proactive and not reactive. Advisors can't wait for their clients to stumble into the right answers. And that's where the tax planning versus just tax preparation that, our clients with Market Advisor Group have access to come in strong. So the clients need to be anticipating their major life events. And the advisors need to be working with them with those events like new grandchildren to help guide the families before the opportunities pass.
So there's different things they can do out there. There's different strategies. I mean, you can look at different types of investment accounts, different strategies, 529 plans, different custodial accounts. There's a lot of things that need to be coordinated with the broader income, tax, and legacy strategy.
Absolutely. So looking at the different plan options like the 529 plans or custodial plans and legacy options, the goal is to reduce the blind spots to make sure that their opportunities don't turn into regrets.
That's true. And I like that you tied that all into the theme of the show. The goal here is about reducing blind spots before they turn into regrets. And so, if you're thinking out there and you're watching, we've talked a lot about retirement blind spots, the risks, gaps, and the core 4 emergencies that can quietly disrupt even a well-intentioned plan. Everyone who completes step 2 of our process, that core 4 report, they receive a clear report outlining where those risks are, the gaps, and of course, where blind spots could exist, covering income, taxes, healthcare, and legacy planning to get you clarity in retirement. And if you want that same clarity, all you have to do is take step 1. And you can do that by calling 833-44-CORE4, that's CORE4, to schedule a 15-minute introductory phone call. That number again is 833-442-6734, or get started online at retirementhelp.com/report. That's the bookings page. You can get there on our calendar, and we can have this 15-minute conversation, step 1, from the convenience of wherever you're at work, at home, if you're on your lunch break. We want to make sure you have that clarity in retirement and you don't find down the road any blind spot that you could do something about right now. And so I'm Matt Goolsby, reminding you that we're here to keep an eye on retirement.